Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you game 2 in a series with Kuba versus Mouse Hasu here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Kuba spawning as the blue Zerg player, meanwhile we have Hasu spawning as the yellow Protoss. This is the finals from the 4 players league. I believe some of the actual tournament organizers contacted me and asked me if I could host some of their replays for them, get the word out a little bit more, and I'm more than glad to host tournament level replays and tournament level StarCraft. I just try to stay away from players who send me email messages and say, hey, I played a really great game, can you show it to the world? That doesn't really excite me as much as exciting as normal play and normal StarCraft play is. That's just something I don't want to do right now, just because of the sheer amount of time it takes to sort through all of my emails, review a replay, see if it really is cast worthy before trying to get into those games. We now see Kuba now just making his way out with this one Overlord, and he did do the extractor trick. You can tell just because he has an even he has a number that's not divisible by 5 in terms of his mineral count here. So Kuba got the extractor trick. Now he may be trying to get down a spawning pool, or he may go for a hatchery, not quite sure yet, as we now see Hasu setting up a gateway down over here. So it is going to be a gateway in this position right here. And then most likely we'll have a cybernetics core here with a zealot trying to hold off in that line right there. Currently placing down a spawning point here, so Kuba will be able to get some Zerglings out in just a moment. About 40 seconds and this game is already underway. Tried to do a little bit of pre-game talk, but no, the game is already set up. Now here in the Xel'Naga Caverns, Zerg versus Protoss, this is game 2 in the finals. And I'm interested to see what's going to be happening in this match, Zerg versus Protoss. I don't see a hatchery yet, or I don't see an extractor yet, so we may get a hatchery in just a moment, or Kuba may just be trying to go for an early queen and trying to go off of a little bit of one base play. You can see the extractor now coming in. You can see the probe now making its way down over here, looking to see if there's a hatchery. There is no hatchery, and now you can see the queen is currently already being trained here. But without that extractor up, he's not going to be able to research that metabolic research, and he's sitting on a large cache of minerals right now. Back in the base of Hasu training up one zealot, currently also getting a cybernetics core as well. This front door will be very, very difficult to break through as soon as that cybernetics core is done. Most likely a sentry or a stalker will be here to reinforce it, and that one zealot with the sentry or stalker should be able to hold off a very large amount. Zerglings now make their way out, chasing after that one probe. A hatchery has been placed down, able to shoo it away. And now able to shoo it away and get some damage onto this one probe. The probe is currently at 10 shields right now, trying to run away. I believe the Zerglings will not have that metabolic boost anywhere in time, and I believe that probe is just trying to wander away very, very slowly now. Kuba already training up a second queen, so we may see a better creep spread here in the Xel'Naga Caverns as opposed to the last matchup in the Delta Quadrant. A Zergling now unable to get past this one zealot here. A sentry is being warped in. Cybernetics core already researching as well, researching that warp gate research, so I'm able to get a lot of units much more quickly as my phone continues to ring next to me, distracting me just a little bit. Now we can see Hasu getting up another pylon here, offering a little bit more sight, and not exactly sure why the pylon was placed here. It looks like he does have decent pylon spread all across his base already, so perhaps he just wants to make sure if there's any overlords he's able to get to them in time. Also, he will be able to warp in units onto this low ground as well. More sentries still being trained. So Hasu going for a very, very heavy sentry build. It does make sense, as sentries cost a large amount of gas, doesn't cost nearly as many minerals, allowing you to warp in additional warp gates as well. Also, early sentries mean that you have much more time to gather energy on those sentries. Zerg is now trying to once again test the front door. A zealot now will be able to walk back up this ramp here. The 2 sentries do have a decent amount of energy. Yeah, do have a decent amount of energy now. And now we see that warp gate research already being applied. 3 warp gates in play. And now I'm going for that hallucination research. So that hallucination research, which was also cut down as well, only takes 80 seconds. We'll be able to do some very, very early scouting as those Zerglings now try to chase after that one probe. The probe will be able to escape. Now those Zerglings are trying to peck away at the Nexus. The Nexus, however, may actually take some critical damage. No, will not take any critical damage as those Zerglings now deciding to back off. Kuba running off of 2 bases already. If you take a look at the harvester count, 38 drones for Kuba. So Kuba doing a great job So far, he's only created 4 Zerglings. And those 4 Zerglings have done a great job to just try to contain the Protoss player in his base. So Hasu does have the much larger army, and now with the Phoenix finally out, Hasu would now realizes that he is not going to be, he could have pushed in much earlier. Zergling's now trying to peck away at these destructible rocks over here. One Zergling activating this Xel'Naga watchtower. The Phoenix now coming around and noticing that there are a couple Zerglings here, and now we see an army of Stalkers making their way south. Is he going to catch it in time? This one Zergling activating this Xel'Naga watchtower here should start to run in just a moment. No, instead chasing after that Stalker, so the Stalker is taking a little bit of damage. And now finally the Zerglings are on the move. Back over here, we need to see more defense. Kuba needs to macro up very quickly, otherwise those Stalkers may be able to get in some damage. It does not look like it. One Phoenix in the air, that hallucination quickly getting dispelled, or I guess dissolved in the air out of there. And now we have Zerglings being laid down over here. We do see some creep tumors now coming in from Kuba, and another hallucination coming in. So this hallucination will be able to gain more sight, gain a lot of information. Phoenix is the perfect unit to hallucinate, as they move so quickly, able to move up and down those cliffs without any real issue, and now gain sight exactly into what Kuba's trying to go for. And now we are going into a quick tier 3. This is not something I was expecting at all. A very quick tier 3 coming in from Kuba, in addition to a Spire, so he may be trying to actually mass or attack straight into Broodlords or Ultralisk. That would be a very strange strategy, but it may pay off just for the sheer surprise factor. Sentries are able to drop down force fields, but sentries do not have the same range. Stalkers do not have blink, as we are now going into a robotics facility, and that robotics bay means that we are only going to be getting Colossus. So those Stalkers are going to end up being tripped up on Broodlings if we do have a lot of Corruptors in the air. It doesn't look like there's going to be any Corruptors anytime soon, as Kuba now establishes a 3rd base down over here, most likely just for the Vespene Geysers, as he may be going into a very heavy gas strategy. One Spine Crawler on that front door. Army wise, you can see now Kuba really ramped up, now sitting at 1650 army compared to 875. But be careful whenever you fight against a Protoss. The Protoss player always has these warp gates. Those warp gates, now 4 of them, able to warp in a lot of units very quickly, and now getting that level 1 weapons upgrade. An Observer now making its way across the map, and yes, it is going to be a Greater Spire. Hasu does see this with the Observer and sees that the Greater Spire is down. Is he going to go for a Twilight Council or a Stargate? Yeah, there's that Twilight Council for Stalker Blink. But will the Stalker Blink be up in time? That is going to be the key question. Already Corruptors are being trained. The Greater Spire needs about another 50 seconds. The Corruptors could make their way out into the field, and then in the field morph into Broodlords, and that will be able to allow them to rain in a lot of damage. The creep tumor spread, however, still very sad, as you can see some of those creep tumors were shot down over here. This is one of the reasons why this creep tumor cannot spawn another one. And now Stalkers making their way in. Stalkers and sentries are going to try to funnel in from the side over here. We do see one Observer in the air. Kuba has 4 Corruptors, and that is it. The Greater Spire is nearly completed, and now in come those Stalkers. Stalkers now trying to deal some damage. Force fields now being laid down, and that's going to be very difficult. Yes, four force fields perfectly placed. And now Kuba going to lose this hatchery very easily. Down it goes. Broodlings now trying to take down that one Zealot. That Zealot will not get taken down. And the drones being forced to just return home and mine back over here. Production-wise, 4 Broodlords now being already trained. And this is a mere 12 minutes into this game. So this is very early indeed. Zerglings now pecking away at these destructible rocks. The Zerglings do not have any weapons upgrade. Hydralisks do not have any weapons upgrade. It is mainly just a pure game of Broodlords, Hydralisks, and Zerglings. Most of their gas being spent on those Broodlords and Hydralisks. Nothing on any weapons upgrade at all. Another hatchery being placed down here and here, so expanding at 2 locations at a time. Meanwhile, Hasu is trying to establish up his 3rd base. Groove Spines now being researched, and now those Broodlords are nearing completion. So we're going to have 5 Broodlords in the air. 4 of them already in the air. Where is that other egg sac? I do not see it. Perhaps back over here. Yes, so this last Broodlord now finally going to join in on this fight. Corruptors now pulling back. Zerglings now trying to funnel down in over here. This Nexus may get canceled. Going after that Pylon first. Pylon stopping any reinforcements from coming in. And down goes a Pylon. And now Zerglings getting toasted there. Stalkers already with Stalker Blink. So Hasu, with that one Observer, able to gain sight on that Greater Spire, and he should get a lot of mileage now out of those, out of those Blink Stalkers. And the Broodlords do have a decent armor of 1 in the air, though. I believe at one point they actually had 2. So the Stalkers are going to be able to deal, I believe, 14 damage per attack instead of 15. And now in come those Zerglings. The Zerglings now trying to swarm in. Stalkers realize they cannot swarm in and try to blink in into a group of Zerglings, as those Zerglings will be able to flank in very, very easily. And now in come those Broodlords. So Broodlords now flying and making their way into this base over here. Zerglings now trying to funnel in as well. Colossi are in the back, and now in come those Broodlings. Stalkers now quickly trying to blink in, and now, oh, a nice pocket right there. And now, however, one of those Broodlords are still full on hit points. Zerglings now trying to continue to push their way through. Sentries may get taken down, and the Sentries are the weak part of that army. They do move much, much slower, as there are currently 6 Broodlords in the air. The Stalkers now quickly blinking in once again, and now backing off. Colossi, and 3 Colossi are left, and now Hasu doing a great job splitting up his army. Colossus and Sentries together, Stalkers separate as well. Level 2 weapons upgrade now being researched, and now army-wise, 4925 versus 4400. We need to see some Infestors in addition to fungal growth in order to stop those very, very high mobility Stalkers. Those Stalkers, once they are able to blink underneath those Broodlords, that is a lot of damage dealt. Where is that Overseer? An Overseer should be nearby. Observer will get quickly shot down there, and now outmove those Broodlords. 5 Broodlords in the air, once again trying to move out. Zerglings may just try to circumnavigate. No, it looks like they're going to try to butt up their head against this wall once again. So Broodlords are back over here. There is still 1 Overseer, and now in comes this push. We do see some Photon Cannons are trying to be warped in. This one Broodlord is low on hit points. It should not be on the far flank. It will get shot down very, very easily. Zerglings now trying to swarm in as well, trying to pull back. Broodlings are now just being rained down from the sky. A lot of damage. Stalkers now trying to come in, unable to do so. Stalkers are blinking back as those Zerglings are coming in to swarm, and now Hydralisks are very, very close behind, so the Stalkers do not want to blink. Oh, there we go. Now in come those Broodlords. Hydralisks now are also focusing down many of those Stalkers over here. A fight against high ground versus low ground. All the Broodlords have been taken down, though, and now in come those force fields, preventing any real continuation attack. And the Hydralisks do not have creep, and that is the problem. Kuba only laying down 3 creep tumors so far throughout this game, and it's really just putting a damper on how effective those Hydralisks could really be. If I take a look at those Queens, the Queens do have a decent amount of energy. He could lay down a couple more creep tumors, and now in comes some Stalkers. Stalkers focusing down Overlords and a couple of those Corruptors as well. In come the 1 Corruptor trying to focus down some of those Colossi, but the Colossi Stalker Ball doing so much damage back and forth. Hydralisk trying to fight off of creep, making it very, very difficult to do any serious chasing at all. And now the Hydralisk trying to run away. Stalkers moving so quickly with that blink. And now Colossus with that extended thermal lance range. And I think Kuba is just on the wrong end of a beat stick right now, as he's losing Broodlords and Hydralisk. Things are not going well for him at all. And production-wise, a lot of Zerglings being trained, more Hydralisks being trained, but now we see the Stalkers just dealing such a great amount of damage towards those Overlords in the air. It looks like Kuba does have a surplus of Overlords at this time, as he is still sitting at a 200 food supply limit, and now Colossi just doing a great job ripping through many of those Zerglings. The Colossus is able to one-shot many of those units. 1 Colossus, however, didn't get the memo to retreat, quickly getting taken down there, and now we are getting another Broodlord. So currently 2 Broodlords, but those Broodlords are simply falling too quickly against those Stalkers. We need to see some Infestor play in order to try to challenge those Stalkers, make them not nearly as mobile, and by denying their mobility, letting a superior range of a Broodlord, a range of 9, deal damage against those Stalkers. You can now see the Stalkers once again. Colossi are on the move. An Overlord quickly getting shot out of the sky once again. And now the Colossus with 46 kills. Yeah, many of those kills are definitely going to be Zergling kills, but that still is an impressive number for those Colossi. So Colossi sitting over here. Corruptors now once again out of position. No Hydralisks nearby. Zerglings now trying to swarm in. More Corruptors. Broodlings now trying to give chase, but this is not looking all too good at all for Kuba. Kuba just unable to deal with Hasu's micro and his unit combinations. You can see that those Corruptors are just trying to give chase, but those Stalkers will have a Stalker blink coming in. There you go, catching many of those Corruptors out of position. Once again, unable to retreat. Hydralisk unable to deal any damage because of those force fields. And this game is not going well at all for the Zerg. Zerg now in full retreat once again. You can see that the Zerg is running off of 4 bases. Harvester-wise, Kuba does have the much stronger economy, outmining his opponent by about 600 minerals a minute, but he is still behind army-wise. Production-wise, he should be able to surpass as long as he doesn't needlessly throw away more of his units, and that is going to be difficult as we are now getting the level 3 ground upgrade. Overlords are in the air trying to spawn some additional creep, but creep tumors are much better at this situation. Now Zerglings now trying to give chase. Stalkers could just blink away. In comes some more force fields. Hydra is now in full retreat once again. And yeah, this is not looking good at all. Hasu could easily take up another expansion on this wing over here. And there's really not much Kuba can do about it. Kuba could try to respond with an expansion of his own, but then his army will be really spread thin. Broodlords, currently 2 Broodlords in the air, another third one being cocooned right now, a couple Corruptors as well, but no weapons upgrades at all. 0-0 on those Hydralisks, 0-0 on those Zerglings, as the Colossus using that superior range, getting so much damage. Zerglings now trying to come in, trying to give chase. Corruptors moving way too far out. Once again, they are going to get shot down. Both sides taking a look at the losses. You can see the losses, 20,000 resources lost for Kuba against Hasu's only 10,000 at this stage. And army-wise, you can see Hasu sitting at 5225. Income is now finally starting to even out as you see Kuba trying to establish his 5th base, perhaps trying to transfer some drones over, as Kuba has already mined out his natural expansion, or pretty much already mined out his natural expansion. The high yield mineral location may get mined out in just a second. Nexus now being thrown down over here as well. Colossus once again trying to come in, trying to bait some of those units. There are Broodlords in the air. Broodlords are just going to be able to rain down more of those Broodlings, but those units are moving very slowly, and I think I actually saw a transfusion, so trying to keep those very expensive Broodlords alive. Stalker is now going after a very low hit point Broodlord Cocoon. It was taken down, and those Broodlings now trying to give chase. Broodlings do move fairly quickly, but one Queen trying to protect the hive quickly gets burnt to a crisp. Back over here, we now see 2 Dark Templar. Now they will be making their way down over here. There is one Overseer Cocoon, and the perfect timing on that Overseer Cocoon right there. That one Spinecrawler should be able to finish that off, and now you can come those Corruptors, Broodlords, and a very large army, but for some reason the Stalkers are deciding to pull back. The Colossi, there are a lot of them, 5 Colossi, 3-0 upgraded Stalkers, but the Hydralisks are now in position, catching them off guard, and now Kuba just simply attack, moving with this very large army. We see Guardian Shield in the air. Broodlords now trying to get some more damage as well. Stalkers are now down over here, and now the Stalkers are going to be able to pick off many of those Broodlords one at a time. Hydralisks are falling as well, and now I believe Kuba, unless he's able to macro up a very large army, suddenly is going to lose this. Now 1 Broodlord is all that is left. It has been taken down. Army-wise, 4575 versus 1350. For a moment, it looked like Hasu was taking a serious damage, but no. Kuba is forced to say GG, realizing that he just threw away his entire army trying to attack this Colossus Stalker Ball. You can see the Dark Templar was over here. It was able to take down this hatchery before it was able to complete as well. A couple of Zerglings trying to stop this pylon, but Hasu, very powerful, very strong presence with those Colossi. Colossi dealing 42 damage per attack, instantly killing any Zergling, 2-shotting any Hydralisk, and that really was the issue there. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay and game 2 in this series between Kuba and Hasu here in the Delta Quadrant.